The Fair Share Amendment will be a ballot question, or anticipated to be a ballot question in 2018. So the general public will have the opportunity to vote on this.
The millionaire's tax, the way it's written, is that once you make over $20,000 a week, we're going to ask for 4% more after the first $20,000. So nothing changes after the first $20,000 someone makes a week, which is $1 million a year.
Can you look around and really say that we are taking care of things? Is our infrastructure where it should be at? Are our roads and bridges in good shape? How are our schools doing? Do we have an abundance anywhere, really? And I really love bringing that back to this whole concept of what our state is about. We are the commonwealth. In terms of the millionaire's tax, I think that's the direction we really have to go.
I don't think it's too much to ask. I think it's that these people, a lot of them, yes, they are in good positions and they've done well, and we all appreciate that and wish that for our kids or our people that we're close to. But you get a lot when you live in this state, and you get a lot when you live in this country. And unfortunately, especially on the national level, you see that people who make astronomical amounts of money are simply not paying their fair share of taxes. Warren Buffett has illustrated this when he says that he's the richest man in the country, worth over $78 billion, and his secretary pays a higher effective percentage of income tax because she has no write-offs.
I have a lot of concerns with this amendment. I see it worded the Fair Share Amendment, and it's one of those bills that they give a name to sell the bill in something that it may not actually be doing. My concerns with the bill are that we're going to be taxing successful people. We're starting to create a two-tiered tax system here in Massachusetts, which I don't agree with.
A lot of people feel like, well, we have to amend the Constitution to do this. And some people are wrongly under the impression that we're doing something that's breaking the tradition that our forefathers set for us. But actually, we changed our Constitution in the early part of the 20th century to allow for this flat tax that really creates a big gap and an inequity in terms of what it means for a poor person to pay the same percentage as a person that's very, very wealthy.
This money is going to be put into education and transportation. So, two areas that the money's vitally needed.
The millionaire's tax is looking at raising almost $2 billion. So $2 billion to our resources here in the Commonwealth would be an incredible positive for those fields that we've identified as really needing some extra attention.
If you look at the bill, there are 3 words in there: subject to appropriation. And those 3 words mean that the legislature can vote to do whatever they want with that money, meaning that this money, that the millionaire's tax, is supposed to go into this separate fund to pay for education and help with infrastructure. That money is very, very likely to go back into the general fund to be dispersed to other funds or programs that the legislature sees necessary. And that's where I have my biggest concern.
Some of the Republican legislators have brought up the issue that we can't, in a constitutional change, because this is a tax structure change, it has to be a constitutional amendment, that we can't have that money be directly obligated to those 2 areas. That realistically, if the tax was to pass, it would all go into the general obligation fund for the state, and we would just have an ability to kind of move it around as we want. It's being challenged in the courts right now. The courts are looking at the issue. I do believe that, and I've supported that we need to have a better funding source for those areas, and not to look at what the courts end up deciding on far as if we have the ability to make them to dedicate it directly to that funding or not. But the amendment itself is to make sure that we have new revenue sources that are directly dedicated to some of the areas that are most needed in the state.